It's the final countdown.
There we go. You probably wondered how long I was going to go on with that. All right, I'm going to introduce us now. Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Welcome to MFS and the Hub's Fantasy Basketball Waiver Wire Show every Thursday, 4:45 p.m. Eastern, 1:45 p.m. Pacific. This is Waiver Wire Week. I don't even remember anymore. We're deep into the season. It's 7. Thank you, Courtney. I appreciate it. NBA Week 8. I'm here with Casey Vlad to the Bone Scheinvold, as always, and Ross the Boss.
Hey, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and I want to talk basketball Waiver Wire Week 7 with you, cowboy. God, I watched basketball last night. I saw the Pelicans win with a 70-foot shot by Devontae Graham. It was unbelievable to win the game. And then in overtime, the Lakers had an unbelievable kid named Reeves who went to Oklahoma. He shot the final shot in overtime to beat Dallas. And this kid is a rookie, wasn't even drafted. They have all these big stars on the team, and he gets the winning shot. It was unbelievable.
That's the NBA for you. You never know what's going to happen. These guys are so talented. It's unbelievable. It's just something about professional athletes in general that people don't often appreciate, just how good every single one of those people is.
Oh, no, this kid was had 15 points, best game of his life. And I don't know if you could, I saw him interviewed after the game, but it was like he won the World Series. I mean, he was like speechless. I mean, he couldn't believe it. He can't believe they gave him the last shot. He was like in awe. You know, LeBron James came up to him and said, good job. I mean, he was like a fan. It was great.
It was funny. I was watching the replay of it because I didn't watch it live. Being an East Coaster, those late games get a little late for me. But if you watch the whole sequence of the play when LeBron's holding it up at the top of the key with like 12 or 10 seconds left, you see him in the far corner. It almost looks like he's just chatting with the Dallas bench. Like that he's not even like, I'm just on the court. I don't really have any purpose here. I'm just going to talk to the bench. And lo and behold, Russell Westbrook kicks in the ball and he hits the three.
Unbelievable stuff. I wish I had gotten to see it. I didn't even know it happened. I was too busy. I was like under a pile of children and tasks.
We get it. You can watch it on YouTube. I'm sure it's up there. It was a fun game to watch. But Dallas was minus Luka. Luka's not playing until next week. He's out. He's not playing Sunday either. Luka's ankle is really bad, but he'll be back.
Did I see an article where he came into camp weighing almost 260 pounds? It was ridiculous how overweight he was.
And he smokes. Wow. He smokes. No people that know this. When he's not playing basketball, when he's outside, he smokes like a bandit. I mean, he's not like his health nut. I'm sure he's eating fast food and smoking. Remember, he's only 22, 23 years old. So I don't think his metabolism should be pretty fast, but obviously he's not taking care of himself. So, Luka, it's time to take care of yourself. Actually, act like a professional. They're paying you a lot of money. Let's start losing some weight and stop smoking.
See, I love the description of him and made him sound like a 55-year-old man sitting out.
Well, you do think of the kind of the European stereotype as smoking, like just
yeah. It really is true. All right, guys, let's get into it. 60% and below in rostership in Yahoo leagues. That's just how we choose how to do this. It tends to be a good breaking point in terms of ownership, whether they're on a lot of rosters or not. So, guys, Ross, you weren't here last week. Casey and I started talking about this. I think that we might want to start looking more at stats than positions, because positions, what do they even mean in the NBA anymore? But for now, for this week, we're going to still go by position. But I want you guys to think about, well, what are the stats these players are offering? That's a big part of why we want to pick people up. So I'll start off with you, Ross. We're going to start with the guards. If they have position eligibility at small forward and stuff, that's fine. But who are the backcourt guys that you love most that we can still pick up right now?
Okay, so I don't know what his stats going to be next week, just because LaMelo Ball's coming back. He's been out. He's supposed to be back Friday, hopefully, because I have him on my fantasy team, and I love LaMelo Ball, as you guys know. But Cody Martin has been taking his spot, getting a lot of playing time, over 30 minutes a game, averaging 15 points, six rebounds, 4 assists in the past week alone. And if Cody Martin, he showed how well he can play. I don't know what his playing time is going to be when Ball comes back, but I love this kid, Cody Martin. And if I had room on my roster, I'd pick him up right now, but he's my number one pickup right now. But I don't know what's going to happen when LaMelo comes back. I have no idea. Okay,
I should take a screenshot of the league because I literally added him right now.
Yes.
And it's not just because you said him. This is a great thing, Ross. I had him queued up to be added right now. I started looking at the list. You know, when I go through the waiver wire, I look at the list and I was like, wow, I've had my eye on Cody Martin for a while. Just haven't been able to add him for various reasons. And I was like, it's time. Absolutely. Great call, Ross. All right, Casey, who else do you recommend right now?
Well, I'm going to recommend somebody I recommended last week too, and that's Monty Morris in Denver. He's playing pretty heavy minutes there. Obviously, Jamal Murray is out for the season, or not for the season, but for the foreseeable future, coming back from an ACL tear. So even when he comes back, he's probably going to be on a minutes limit. He's at the 60% mark. No, he's at, where do I have him? Yeah, he's at 60% right now. So he just falls under that cutoff. The last, he's the 23rd ranked player in fantasy basketball for the last 2 weeks. He's averaging, let's see if I do the math real quick. He's averaging over 15 points a game, 3 boards, 5 assists, a steal every game, and he's only turning it over 1 time a game, which is actually pretty impressive for a point guard who's getting some assists. He's not going to kill you in the turnovers. We see that a lot with the guard play. These guys put up impressive numbers, but they'll turn it over 4, 5, 6 times a game, and that's just an automatic loss in a lot of these 9-category leagues. So he's not doing that.
Okay, now I'm going to do what I think Ross considers to be a party foul and talk about a name I've already talked about before. Ross
I wasn't here last week, so you can talk about anybody you want.
All right, well, listen, Ross brings a lot of great stuff to the show. One of the things that he brings to the show that I love so much is he's always looking for the new guy. But sometimes the guy to pick up is the guy we've been mentioning all along that you just haven't picked up yet, and that's Pat Connaughton. He's 56% rostered, but over the last 30 days, he is the 18th ranked overall player. This guy needs to be snatched up. He has 47 three-pointers in the last 30 days, 218 points, 17 steals. He's shooting 54%, almost 54%, 28 minutes. What more do you guys want? Pick this guy up now, immediately. I can't because he's owned in my league. Pick him up now. Another huge, and he's a shooting guard, small forward too, so he qualifies in many different places. Another guy we've mentioned before, of course, Paddy Mills. Casey and I like to say it that way, in the old Irish way. He's not Irish, but he is quite good, and he's been filling in for a while for obviously Kyrie Irving, nowhere to be found. I don't expect him to come back at any point, so I think Paddy Mills is going to keep his value. And meanwhile, what's the dude's name? The 3-point shooter, Joe Banner.
Harris.
Is that his name?
Joe Harris.
Who's Joe Banner? I don't know who that is. Joe Harris.
Joe Baru. Yeah, good call.
He's been out for a while too. So Paddy Mills has been keeping it up, and he's shooting the lights out. He's got 52 3-pointers in the last month. That happens to be the cross section of stats I'm looking at right now. Is last 30 days. Switches to last 14, last 7. Paddy Mills is there all the way. He's a point guard, shooting guard. Great pickup. Ross, I'm going to bounce it back to you. Any other
Paddy Mills, great pickup, averaging over 30 minutes a game. This week alone, he's close to 20 points a game. And he's also like a steal a game too, which is good. Paddy Mills, always a good pickup. Eric Gordon for Houston. Porter Jr. is out for a while. Eric Gordon's picking up the slack the past week, 23 points a game. I said to Casey Scheinfeld, 23 points a game in the past week. With 4.5 assists a game, which isn't too bad, with 2 rebounds a game in the past week. Pretty good stats for Eric Gordon on a Houston team that's playing a lot better than they did earlier in the year. And then a guy that we mentioned, I think every week, but I got to mention his name because I just love his first name. If I have another kid, I'm naming his name this. Anthony Simons.
Anthony Simons.
Anthony Simons. Did I say it right, Case?
You did.
Okay, good.
Brilliant.
So the past week, he's been, McCollum's hurt. Lillard's not playing. He's been the backcourt. He's been averaging 30 minutes a game, 18 points the past week with 7 rebounds and 3 assists and 1 steal a game. I mean, this guy's been averaging great numbers. If you need a guard, he's my other top pick. I like him a lot. I said his name before. I know I said it. But you know what? It's time to pick him up because C.J. McCollum is really hurt. He's not coming back for a while.
Well, and it is really important to stay ahead on these pickups. I mean, I mentioned Paddy Mills, but Ross, you mentioned Paddy Mills, I think, like 3 weeks ago. And
yeah,
it happened to be when I picked him up, but it really is important. Try to get on this early. Cody Martin, this is your last call for him. He's exploding. You got to get on him right now. Let's see. Other guards. I'm going to mention Kentavious Caldwell Pope. He's been shooting the ball very well. Listen, 43% from the field isn't very well, but for him it is. He doesn't usually hit that kind of shooting range. He's great from the free throw line. He's got 33 3-pointers in the last month and he wasn't even playing all that time. He was out at a certain point, 194 points, 19 steals. You could do a lot worse than Kentavious Caldwell Pope. And I say this all the time, guys. Just trust the numbers. It's math. If you just put it on the player rankings and you see who's doing well for a certain amount of time, and you can analyze the numbers correctly, you got something. So, yeah, Casey, anybody you'd add?
Well, no, I just wanted to go back to Eric Gordon because I think, Ross, that's a great pick. But one of the things I like about him a lot is this is a high-volume shooter who's shooting in the past 2 weeks almost 59% from the field. And that can make up for so many deficits in your lineup, because we're often seeing these guards who shoot the ball in high volumes, but shoot 40%, 42%, which can really...
Westbrook is a great example.
Right, who can bring you down. This is a guy who right now just is, in his last 2 weeks, he's 40 for 68 from the field, which is crazy. And that can make up for deficits at other parts of your roster where you have some players who might be putting up the good peripherals, but are really struggling in shooting percentage. This is a guy who can negate that.
You know, I like that point, and I'll add to this. When you're looking for that kind of boost, especially just in the short term, remember, this is one of the reasons we do the waiver wire in basketball on Thursdays, because you're midweek, and you got to know who to pick up. Look at your stats. Which stats do you need to make up? If you need somebody who's going to shoot the lights out at guard, you can't do better than Eric Gordon right now.
Yeah, just make sure you don't pick any Chicago Bulls up. They're not playing this week. They're off the whole week. So,
I mean, you
or
can pick
Toronto,
them
up. Don't pick any Chicago Bulls
up.
Trust me.
Yeah, I mean, you can pick them up if you want to lose, but that's not what we recommend on this.
Or if somebody drops Zach LaVine or Ball or DeRozan, if somebody drops them from their team, pick them up, of course.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, let's move to forwards. We were talking small forwards, power forwards, but some of these guys are going to qualify at guard. Some of them are even going to qualify at center. There's a wide variety here. Casey, I'll start with you. Who's at the top of your list of forwards?
The top of my list is kind of fluid. So to say I have a top few. I really like, I think Terrence Ross in Orlando right now is playing really well. He's putting up some big numbers there. And I like Cameron Johnson a lot in Phoenix. He's also putting up some pretty good numbers. So those two would be near the top. For stats for the last, 2 weeks, Cameron Johnson hits a lot of three-pointers, over 3 per game. He plays both small forward and power forward.
I mean, Cameron Johnson case in the past week, he's been averaging 15 points a game and 6 rebounds, which isn't too bad. And he's getting a lot more playing time now. The coach is really letting him play a lot more than he was playing before. So I think that's a great pickup on your side.
And he's one of those ones who doesn't shoot a great percentage, though. He's only shooting 41% from the field the last couple of weeks. So that's what I talk about in terms of the balance, finding some really high shooting guards, guys. The same with Terrence Ross. He's a volume shooter, puts up some pretty impressive numbers scoring and peripherals, but a lower shooting percentage. So you have to take the good with the bad with those guys.
All right, now let's Ross, I'm going to do an experiment here. I just want to see how fluid is Casey's top of the list. Casey, I'm going to come back to you. Have you changed your mind?
I have.
Okay, let's hear it.
I like Luke Kennard, too, in L.A., because he's a three-point specialist. He makes more than 2 per game 3-points, shoots a good percentage despite the fact that he's a distance shooter, good from the line, can get you rebounds, and he plays both guard and forward, so he can qualify it in 4 different positions in your lineup. All
right, Ross, I'm gonna give you this is a little bit of a quiz. Who do you think I'm gonna say? I have a forward in mind. It's my top forward ad. Listen, if you just select last 30 days,
I say just because of the history you have with this player, I say it's Hussein Whiteside. Am I right?
That's a very, very good. That's a very good guess, Hassan Whiteside, but that is not it. He is not at the top of the list. If you select last 30 days and you go to forwards,
okay,
under 60%, the number one guy that I find is Kevin Love.
I love Kevin Love, and that's a great pickup. I have him down at my center position, but you picked him first on forwards, and he's in the past week he's been averaging 16 points and 8 rebounds a game, and he's only playing like 18 minutes a game. So if they give him more playing time, his stats will go up. But Kevin Love's a great pickup, and he plays for what team does he play for again? I forgot. They're like in the Midwest. They're in some crappy city. What is it again? I forgot. Remind me.
It's your Cleveland Cavaliers.
I had no
idea. Here we go again. Listen, he is putting up really good numbers.
He's having a great year. I mean, you know what I think the philosophy on him is this year? I think the coach is just playing him 20 minutes a game. They're not going to get him hurt. And when he's in, he actually produces great numbers. So Just don't let him play over 20 minutes. That's the key with Kevin Love.
Let me give you another insight with Kevin Love. And I love this guy for a lot of reasons, pun intended. He is a guy who came out speaking about having depression, and I love that he got out on the forefront of that and was open about it. But here's another thing. Kevin Love is a much better player when he's interested. What was he supposed to do on this Cavs team that was so bad before? Well, with Evan Mobley in there, they're a whole different team. They have played the hardest schedule so far, and they actually, by looking at the numbers, they're supposed to have the easiest schedule of any team going forward, and they're over 500 right now.
Well, you got to remember the main thing about that team is one of their best players, if not the best player, is hurt, Sexton. So, I mean, they're doing this without their star point guard.
But you think about that front court right now with Allen, Mobley, and Kevin Love. That's a pretty impressive three to command the front court.
Yeah. Well, when you bring in a guy like Lauri Markkanen, who is, he's a 3-point specialist and super tall, can really stretch the floor. I'm telling you, Kevin Love is not bored the way that he was. That's part of
not at all. And again, I mentioned him a few weeks ago, and I have him down as a center just because the center position this week is the least valuable position because there's not many great players out there that are worth taking. But Kevin Love, yes. The only thing that makes me worried does not play much playing time during the season.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is he's very efficient in those minutes. He's going to produce a lot in that time. Case, who else do you have at forward? I know your mind has changed completely because it's totally fluid. You probably don't even agree with what you said.
I don't. I've changed again. I like Royce O'Neal a lot too at forward. He plays actually both forward positions and at shooting guard. Somehow he qualifies at all three, which you don't see very often. He's playing 30 minutes a game over the last 2 weeks, shooting 67% from the field, averaging almost 10 points a game, averaging 7 rebounds, almost 6.5 rebounds, 5 assists. So he's putting up some pretty good numbers over the last 2 weeks. He's one of those guys who doesn't blow you away in any one category, but he contributes in all of them. And then when you look at it, he's a top 60 or top 65 fantasy player.
He was the next guy that I was about to mention, and it's partly because of his position eligibility, but he really is putting up great numbers. And as Ross has always said, look at the minutes. How many minutes are they playing? I mean,
a lot.
With Kevin Love, it definitely the worry is the low minutes, whereas Royce O'Neal, he's averaging almost 30 minutes a game in the last 30 days. You look at those minutes, and that's another reason I like Paddy Mills at guard, 34 minutes over the last 30 days. Another guy that I like is Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, I understand he might have a short shelf life because when Luka comes back, weighing 265 pounds, smoking a cigarette, then Dorian Finney-Smith's numbers could go down. But right now, he's averaging 33 minutes over the last 30 days.
How much would you love to see Luka smoking a cigarette on the sideline during his 3-minute break at the end of the first quarter or the start of the second quarter?
I don't know if you guys saw. I watched the Laker game last night, and those machines, the massage machines that it's like a drill. You guys see it, right?
Drum,
I have one at home. Well, he was taking the machine and not using it on his ankle or his leg. He was putting it on his head and doing this and putting on his teeth. It's and laughing about it. I mean, they showed this on TV and, and he's supposed to be hurt. He's goofing around during the game. I mean, it was unbelievable. But I mean, remember, he's a kid at heart. I mean, guys, he lives with his mom. He's, I'm sure he doesn't have a girlfriend supposedly. And it's all about basketball. So he has to have something to have fun with. So that's
right. So you put a massage thing on your teeth and
on your teeth, which I don't recommend any kids watching. Don't put that drill thing on your teeth because you can lose your teeth or lose a lot more things if you do that. It's not that smart.
So listen, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you have differences of opinion, let us know. We want to hear your comments. Put them below.
Yep.
Let's hear about it, especially if you're a dentist and you want to weigh in right now. We know this is a problem, but we want to hear from the professionals about it.
Hopefully it's not an epidemic.
Another Clipper. We talk about the Clippers a lot today, which is my team.
Of course,
I love Marcus Morris Sr., not Junior. Marcus Morris Sr., which makes me laugh because Junior is probably 2 years old. So, I mean, we got to have the word senior in there. The past week, he's been averaging 16 points a game, 8 rebounds. He's been playing over 30 minutes a game, shooting threes. Marcus Morris Sr., to me, if you need a forward and especially if you need a guy that shoots 3-pointers, he's your guy you should pick up.
It's so weird you said that because it just reminded me, this is so strange, but I had a dream last night that, Ross, you helped book Marcus Morris on my pain show. I completely forgot about it until you mentioned him there. So obviously I was picking him up in my mind, but you had your eye on the right.
I had the same dream last night too. That's why I mentioned his name tonight.
God, this show is getting weirder and weirder. Okay, I'm going to mention one other forward, and then we'll move on because it is true. I probably shouldn't have talked about Kevin Love in the forward position because Ross is right. Center
it's fine.
Is thin, but I appreciate you understanding. But Danilo Galinari of the Atlanta Hawks, small forward, power forward, this guy's putting up really good numbers, and he has done it historically. This is another reason I like to pick up a guy like that, is if I've seen him do it before, and all it is about playing time, and he's getting that playing time, great. To me, he's a better pickup than Dorian Finney-Smith because his role is not just going to evaporate. Even though the Hawks have a deep team, he seems to have that role pretty solidified.
Yeah, so he's getting 25 minutes a game and doing well with it. I don't see them taking that away from him. There's not like a superstar coming off the, Cam Reddish or Kevin Huerter. They're not gonna take his minutes away from him if he's playing well.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I have to ask this question? What do you think of Grant Williams of Boston? Is he somebody you had your eye on?
I mean, Smart's coming back soon. Brown's supposed to be back soon. I mean, when they get healthier, I don't think Williams will get the playing time, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this, but he's not on my top 10 pickups of the week.
He's not for mine either, but that's one of the reasons I wanted to mention him is this is how we analyze these things to try to figure out who to pick up. If the role is not going to stay there, you don't want to go to it so much. And meanwhile, he's not even putting up that great numbers anyway. I mean, he is 89th out of all the players over the last 30 days, so he's not bad. But fact is, if you look at his numbers and they're really not popping out at you and the role might evaporate, probably not the way to go. All right, we're going to go to centers. Ross, I'm going to give you the first crack at this. Casey, get ready. I don't care how fluid your list is. I'm going to want to hear from you. All right, Ross, go ahead.
The center under 60%, who I feel, it's not Kevin Love because we already mentioned him, so I can't mention Kevin. But I will mention P.J. Tucker. P.J. Tucker the past week has been averaging 14 points a game, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. His points been going up more and more every week. I know he's not a huge point scorer in the past, but he's getting the ball. He's shooting the ball more with confidence. I feel PJ's a good pickup. He's not going to hurt you at the center position. And somebody else that hasn't played a minute this year. He's been sitting at the rehab place, getting stronger and faster and bigger, is James Wiseman. James Wiseman and the other Splash brother, what's his name?
Klay Thompson.
Klay Thompson are both playing in the G League starting tonight in Santa Cruz. And they're going to be rehabbing together in Santa Cruz in the G League, and they should be back by Christmas time. They should be both on the roster for Golden State. So if James Wiseman's not available on your league, I feel bad for you. But if he is, pick him up. And Klay Thompson, unfortunately, he's available. He's not available. He's over 60%. And whoever picked him up in our league is a genius. I don't know who that is, but I love Klay Thompson too. But I know he's not a center.
All right, I'll give the shout out for you, Ross. You drafted Klay Thompson. I drafted Kawhi Leonard. You're looking like the genius there, and I applaud.
And I have a Kawhi update. He was practicing in Utah with his team, but he was on one side of the court, and his team was on the other. So he didn't really practice with them, but he was taking shots by himself during practice. That's my update. I have a Kawhi Leonard. That's it.
All right, Casey, I'm going to turn it over to you. I have a feeling I know who you're going to say.
Well, I have two guys, so I don't know who you have, but I'll say the one you're expecting me to say, and that's Isaiah Hartenstein. I've never heard of this guy until I was doing some research yesterday. Yep. For the Clippers. Didn't play in college, went to Germany for high school and played professionally there, was drafted as one of those draft and stashes by the San Antonio Spurs, of course, who always do the Euro draft and stash. Getting a chance now in Clipperland, and he's a per-minute monster. He's only playing like 18, a little less minutes per game, but the stats are pretty darn impressive. 70% from the floor. He shoots over 70% from the line. He's getting over 1.5 blocks a game, a steal per game. He gets rebounds, he gets assists, and he's putting up almost 8 points per game, over 8 points per game. So, and he's only playing 18 minutes. So if he keeps doing that, you're going to see his time increase, I think, because he's a young kid and they want to see what he's got. And it's just been impressive. I'd never heard of the guy, so I had to actually kind of Google his name when I first saw it. So.
No, I've been watching him play all season. He was the last guy picked to be on the roster. I mean, it was between him and somebody else, and they decided to keep him, and I'm happy they did. When he comes in the game, you can see a smile on the coach's face. I mean, he's excited. He's playing. The players are excited. He brings a different energy when he's out there. This guy just doesn't play offense. He plays a lot of defense, and he's a big kid. So I like this guy. For me, it's just a whole thing about how much time he gets to play. Right. I mean, he's averaging, I would say 16, 17 minutes a game. Is that right?
18 for the last 2 weeks.
So let's say 18 minutes. Let's just say that. I mean, it's not that much time, but you know what? This guy can shoot. He can shoot from anywhere. I mean, and he's a big body and he rebounds. So I like this guy. It's just a playing time for me.
Yeah. So, with a guy like him, this is one great advantage of a head-to-head league where you're competing week to week. You can afford to pick somebody up and see, does he develop into something bigger? Do his minutes start to go up or not? And if it starts to diminish, then you toss him the curb, is what happens in leagues if that happens. But you could catch the wave. And so it's often good to take a chance for a week, see how somebody goes. It's like you're reserving that space on your roster. Now I'm going to mention one other center that I just always like this guy. He's such a workman-like kind of guy. But Dwayne Deadman, another Miami guy. We're talking about two Heat players that qualify at center. And actually, it's kind of an important point because P.J. Tucker, he can get injured. He's an older player, and if he gets injured, Deadman's numbers are going to go up. I really like the Tucker pickup. I'm not saying not to pick him up, but Dwayne Deadman is also a good pickup. He's one of the top rebounders on this list as I look at players that are available. So here's the other thing, and let's shift gears for a little bit here before we wrap up. Sometimes you're looking for a very specific stat, or maybe two specific stats. Like you can look at your matchup on Thursday and say, I need rebounds and blocks. Who do you get? Well, a guy like Maxi Kleber is a good guy to get then. He gets blocks and threes and rebounds. And so a guy like Dwayne Deadman, if you're looking for threes, he's not your guy. But he could be a double-double machine in terms of points and rebounds. So you got to know your stats. Guys, are there any stats that you're looking for, particularly on your team, that changes the way you look at this list of players?
Well, there's one, if I can just mention one more center, I think,
please do.
Who we neglected. And that's, I might butcher his name, so I apologize, but Alperen Sengun in Houston. His minutes have gone up to over 20 minutes a game over the last couple weeks. Christian Wood, as an owner of him for 2 seasons now, I'm well aware that he misses a lot of time with injury. And this kid he's a rookie. He was considered a per-minute monster and somebody to watch at the beginning of the season. And now he's starting to get the playing time to go along with it. And because of that, he's playing over 20 minutes a game. He shoots over 80% from the free throw line, over 50% from the field. Those are some pretty good stats for a center. He gets points, he gets rebounds, he can even throw an occasional assist. He's not a block machine yet, but he can steal the ball. And so he's somebody who's seeing his minutes go up. And if you're patient with him, I think he's somebody who can help you a lot as the season progresses.
All right. So listen, we've covered the positions pretty well, but I was just curious. On my watch list, one of the things that I like to do is to separate it out by looking at average stats over, let's say, the last 14 days and picking a category.
Okay, I'll give you a good example. Okay,
yeah, give me
I'll give you an example because I've been trying to dump this guy for the past 2 weeks and nobody wants him, and I don't know why, but I kind of have figured because we talk bad about him on almost every show. Russell Westbrook. Okay, you're saying, oh well, this guy averages almost a triple-double every season. That's great. But he's killing me in field goal percentage and turnovers. He's second in the league with turnovers. Number 1 is James Harden. Number 2 is Westbrook. And then with field goal percentage, he's horrible. I mean, he takes so many shots and he just kills me at those 2 categories. So I'm trying to find players that are good. It's hard to find these guys. There are not many. I mean, the one guy I love on my team and he's hurt is LaMelo Ball. I mean, he's the one guy that does great in almost every category. He's unbelievable. And then there's guys like Westbrook that shoots the ball every time he gets it, and he turnovers the ball every time he gets it, and he kills me. So I don't know what you give a little to get a little, right? So I don't know what the equilibrium is when it comes to a player like Westbrook. I want to hear your start thoughts on it, guys. Go.
First of all, I love the nickname.
That's perfect.
Thank you, guys. I named him myself.
I don't know if he's ever been called that before, but it should stick. Now, listen, I think the balance ultimately in trying to get your roster is to get those guys who are great in all the categories as much as you can. I mean, there's a reason that Westbrook or Westbrick went for a lot cheaper than, let's say, Steph Curry. You know, Steph Curry is going to help you in virtually every category, and from a position sometimes that is undervalued. Like even with rebounds, the guy is good. I mean, he's not the greatest, but for his position, quite good. Then there's players that you're going to fill in later based on your matchup. Here's a good example. When I look at my watch list and I do last 14 days, average stats, and I look at three-pointers, Duncan Robinson comes up. Okay, Duncan Robinson, he's averaging 3 3-pointers a game, 14.9 points. He barely turns the ball over. His shooting percentages have been pretty good, especially recently. He's got 28 minutes per game. Is that someone that I want to pick up every time? No, but he might be in certain weeks.
He's a streaker, and you know what? If you think about it, he should be playing on San Antonio. He shouldn't be playing in Miami. I think you're right.
I like it. All right, so now I'm going to pick another stat. I picked rebounds.
Yeah.
Who on your list would you pick up if you really needed rebounding help?
Well, I mean, I think the obvious choice is Dwayne Deadman, who you talked about. He's averaging over 9 rebounds a game, which is obviously really impressive. If he gets 1 more point and 1 more rebound average per game, he's averaging a double-double, which for somebody who's only 34% owned is pretty crazy, considering he's also shooting 60% from the field. He doesn't get as many blocks as you'd like to get as a center, but if you don't need blocks because you have blocks somewhere else, I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Hussein Whiteside, guys. I said it, and I'll say it again. He gets double-doubles almost every time he plays. He just needs more playing time. But you know what? I'll take the 10 rebounds every game, anytime, any day. If I need I don't need rebounds. Rebounds, I'm good with. I have a good rebounding team. That's not my problem right now. I have other problems to demolish. But I like Whiteside. I know we had our differences in the past about him, but I feel like he's getting the right playing time. He'll be in like a top 50 player if he gets enough playing time. And
listen, he's shooting. If you're trying to even out Westbrook, Hassan Whiteside is shooting 72% over the last 14 days.
Yeah, they're all dunks. I mean, Casey Scheinfeld could shoot 70% if he could dunk the ball every time.
Yes, if only the hoop was 7.5 feet tall, we'd be able to dunk.
I still think I can dunk on an 8-foot net, but it would be a little bit.
I used to play in an 8-foot net at a grammar school every Sunday. A bunch of we were all like in college, and we all had so much fun dunking. I mean, it was great, but I don't know if I can dunk anymore in an 8-foot basket.
I think I could do it on an 8-foot. The thing is, on
8-foot, I used to, not anymore. I don't.
On a 9-foot, I still believe I can, but then I jump in the air and I'm like, oh no! Someone cut my vertical into a quarter of what it was. It's crazy. Well, anyways, guys, when you're analyzing these players, this is part of what we look at, and these were good examples of it. Hassan Whiteside's a great example of, let's say you're looking just for rebounds. Well, Hassan Whiteside, even in less minutes than Dwayne Deadman, is averaging close to the same amount of rebounds, but he also blocks shots. And his shooting percentage is even better. So I could definitely see it. I'm wary of naming Hassan Whiteside because I've gotten burned so bad in the past. But I do agree with Ross's. You gotta admit. I mean, they gotta give him more playing time, or Utah's winning regardless. So might as well have him play little time and make sure he doesn't get hurt. Absolutely. All right, guys, this has been a fun show as always. We keep pointing you in the direction of the players to pick up. And listen, you're building your team over time. So some of these guys are going to stick on your roster. Some of them are going to rotate out for each week with the stats that you need. Keep that up every week. Every point you pick up, every win you get in a category propels you closer to the playoffs. So keep it up. Thanks for joining me, Casey and Ross. This has been fun. Now I'm going to sing the final countdown because this is the final countdown. And I'm going to fade out too.
Ever since I've been doing these commercials for Killcliff, my Tinder account has been blowing up, dog. Ooh, who's this horny young fella sliding into Brandy's DMs? Mr. Castlemaster. How about that? Killcliff Octane CBD. The killer Cliffsicle. All the benefits of caffeine smooth over with CBD. Own it.